to run your leg of this great relay, because 182 years, I'm sure nobody who pioneered this work is alive in the flesh today. And because they ran their leg of this relay well, you can now run your leg. And therefore, this message is directed towards all of you who are part of this great institution. The corporate folk, the commissioner and his team, the officers and the other ranks. You notice when the institution is denigrated, it is not done because of a collective wrong, but if one officer, one other rank does something, when people write and people criticize, they criticize the entire institution. So the best way to deal with that is for every member of this to understand they have a duty to uphold and to protect the integrity of this institution. Nehemiah, the first, I'm going to give it to you quickly because my friend told me of the time frame that was given to me. Leaders have a sense of, when you read this book, the only way that Nehemiah could have been successful is understood his mission. If you do not understand your mission, you will not be able to achieve the level of success that you have set out, or those who plan and organize the program have determined. Leaders not only must have a sense of mission, a keen sense of mission, but leaders must leverage their power. This is a concept that is understood in the private sector, where constantly companies and individuals, understanding the environment in the marketplace, constantly leverage their power. This is understood in not very many families, but in some families, where fathers and mothers who understand how to leverage their authority and their power in the home, their children never become a ward of the state, because those parents have a keen understanding how to leverage their authority and their power. And I charge you as leaders to understand that you have a duty and a care and a responsibility. Some may say to me, you have a privilege to be able to speak to this august gathering. I don't share that view. I think it is a special responsibility. And based on that, I am sharing with you what I believe. You need to adopt like Nehemiah in order to accomplish the mission that is assigned. So it is critical, like in chapter 2 and verse 5, he understood how to leverage his power. Third, leaders must conduct research. It's amazing when you read this book that Nehemiah conducted research. He heard from his countrymen. His family reported to him what was happening in Jerusalem. He wept. His disposition before the king was managed. The king inquired, "Are you okay? You've never appeared before me as distraught as you reason." When he received the authority from King Artaxerxes the first, when he traveled to Jerusalem He had information from others. He listened to the specialists. He invited them to the boardroom. He conferred with them. He heard the problems. He listened to them, recommend solutions. But Nehemiah conducted his own research. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to strongly suggest, especially if you're a leader, after you would have heard and received the advice of different ones, you have a duty, you have a care to conduct research. This is the Nehemiah model that I'm sharing with you. Leaders, community. Leaders build community. I found that not all leaders are what we call good leaders, but they're leaders. In the kingdom of darkness, they are leaders. Among people who have ill will for the general society and for people. And even though I might grit my teeth, I have to admit, I see leadership among them. You have a duty. Several years ago, more than like 2 decades ago, I was in a conversation with some of my colleagues from the Caribbean. We were meeting in southern Trinidad. And it dawned on me that criminal enterprise is not only localized like the pickpockets and the thieves and so on, but criminal enterprise is powerful. And the only way one would be able to deal and to bring a change to that, we have to change the mindset of only picking up the pickpockets and deal. This is without the region, throughout the region. And we have to deal with this whole notion of we have to build communities. We have to work with each other. We have to, throughout the region, if something is working someplace, examine it before you implement it and see if it can work here. If technology is available, and I that an institution like this would want to go ahead without technology. 18 months ago, the entire world changed. And I understood, like I never did before. When I studied computer science, a computer was, we call them mainframes, a long time ago. A massive structure. This thing has more computing power than the Apollo spacecraft. These things that we walk about with. They're extremely powerful. Yet, as a youngster, when you stood before these mainframe computers, you wondered, what's really going on here? I challenge us. In my field of work, the ministry has had to change. Because in order for us to survive, those responsible for protecting the nation said, only 5 persons could gather at a time during a worship. Could you imagine that kind of impact? Some haven't even recovered from such a statement. But if you dare to change, understand the importance of technology, you're going to be able to build community, build it, and build it strong. Nehemiah, he lived in a time when technology that we know and we have was non-existent, but he built community. Build community. 5th, leaders must adapt to adversity. When I look at Nehemiah, and I encourage you to read it, you would come face to face with a gentleman named Sanballat and another one named Tobiah. And they were sworn to oppose Nehemiah at every step of his walk. What that means? You're going to lie down and roll over? No. Leaders must adapt to adversity. This world, you will find that there are very many times there are people who perhaps can be more powerful, can be better positioned, but here you are. I think when I look to the world of athletics, and I call as a witness one Usain Bolt from Trelawney, and during his years of competing as an athlete, there were adversaries all around him, and he knew what they were doing, allegedly. And they asked him about his speed. He suggested that in his community they consume a lot of yams. Next thing we knew, lots of foreign athletes were now visiting Jamaica in order to taste this yam that caused him to run as fast as he was running. It's amazing when you adapt. Even your adversaries are mesmerized. When you remain focused on your assignment, you don't have to get hot under the collar. You don't have to abuse anybody. You don't have to do like, how conflicts were in the villages where it took the form of theater. I grew up in a little village named Lodge. I enjoy the power of theater. Whenever there was a conflict, men and women, they pronounced words, they would take center stage. And you'd hear them pronouncing words as they abuse and try to ridicule each other. One man, in order to gain dominance, he shouted to his wife, who shut the door, and except his friends, the power of the village theater. We didn't have money to go to the cultural center and to go to the theater guild. But there was theater every day almost in our community. There was adversity all over. And he seemingly acted as he shouted to his wife or the woman he lived with. Put all of my things outside, he said. You will see how you will survive. And the crowd waited. He shouted again. And a projectile came through the top window. 9. Leaders must have access to information. A long time ago when I practiced management, I used to say to subordinate staff and colleagues, all I need every day from you guys are accurate and timely information. Don't keep that to yourself. To make decisions, sound decisions. There are people who have information and they believe they leverage the information for their own success. Leaders need accurate and timely information. Nehemiah demonstrated this, and he resisted inaccurate information. He resisted maliciousness. He resisted fake information. We must never reach that place where we become producers of false information. We have to deliver our nation from that kind of environment. And you, as a force, you have a role to play. Leaders serve people. These are all leadership principles that will take me weeks to be able to demonstrate and to teach. young people, leaders, serve people. You could tell a leader, a real leader. There's some leaders who want to be served, but the real leader is among the people. You notice when they came to arrest Jesus, they didn't recognize him. They have to ask, who is he? If they come for whoever's in charge. No, in our environment, when you work, you could always tell who's the boss. You know? The boss invariably, somebody who is so puffed and arrogant, powerful. Leaders, when we read Nehemiah 7:1, I've extrapolated these principles from this book and from more other books. Leaders must serve people. And finally, leaders must celebrate others often. You have come, you've invited us to celebrate with you the fact that you have achieved 182 years. It is a remarkable achievement in our world. I want to say to you, my final observation. When you look at Nehemiah, his leadership constantly forced him to check and recheck with his Creator. It is called prayer. Nehemiah always prayed. I challenge you, however weak you might perceive yourself to be, constantly, every single day, every minute of the day, ask the Creator, whoever you perceive him to be, for help, for direction. I remember speaking to the Governor General of the Bahamas in his beautiful palatial home, and he said, I serve the Speaker of our assembly. This is the Governor General. And he was telling me about the power of prayer, like I'm trying to convince you. He said, there were many times when my colleagues were so, the rank and the bitterness in the house was so great, I had to call a recess. And I went into my inner sanctum, and I went on my knees, and I prayed. A brilliant lawyer, brilliant politician. But not everything is solved by argument and by debate. The very matters we can resolve by a simple prayer. I will never forget what he said. Lord, help me to deal with these uncircumcised Philistines. This is in his private moment, but he shared that. Nehemiah was no ordinary man. He was a man right close to power. His proximity to power could have caused him to feel an extremely powerful man, yet he humbled himself. As you celebrate, as you worship, as you do the other things that you have set yourself to do in this anniversary period, may you remain humble, and may you call upon your God for help. God bless you, and may God bless this police force. Amen. Shall we stand, please? Sorry, yes, please go ahead. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
We're coming to the end as we sing the national anthem.
Leopold. Change that to the right. Right, come. Slow march time. Change that to the right. Right, come. Forward.
Thank you, Pastor Dillichan. Messiah, we'll now invite all our guests upstairs for some refreshment. You can have access to the officers' mess through that stairs on the northeastern end. This brings us to the end of this part of our program. Thank you for being here today.